What's going on YouTube? Bryce Crispy94 here, bringing you another miniature painting video. Now this week we do have the community voted miniature, and we are doing October and November, since I did do like a spooky mini there in October. So we have a Half-Orc Ranger here. This was the #1 voted miniature between Discord and YouTube. The other ones were a Half-Orc Paladin and a Half-Orc Fighter. So this is an epic miniatures model. We painted quite a few of their models before. They do excellent detail, as you can see. Her armor is really sweet. She's got that awesome longbow, the little spikes, pretty cool little half-orc face. And then I enjoy the fact that she's standing on a log. Now this is upscaled just a bit, because when I first printed the model, it was a little small, so I did go ahead and upscale it to make it more in line with my typical models there. Here's Volstagg for comparison, and yeah, so she's actually maybe a little taller than Volstagg, but a little slimmer as well, but that's all right. So without further ado, let's get to painting. So since we're going to be using some speed paints on this model, the first step we're going to do is we're going to grab our white and we're going to dry brush the hair, her bow, and the little log that's on the ground or base. This is just going to give that contrast, so that way the colors look much better when you apply that speed paint. Basically a tiny slap chop method. Next up, we're going to do our skin tone. So we're going to take Army Painter's D&D Orc Skin, also known as Ash Gray, and we're going to do 2 drops of that to 1 drop of Ethereal Blue or Wolf Gray. Both of these colors are used a lot by me, and this is just going to kind of give that bluish gray skin that I'm going for with this orc. Then we're going to grab Vallejo Bone White, which is a color I don't use often, but I thought it was really fitting with this model. And we're just going to use it for the cloth that hangs from her front and her back, as well as her quiver on her back. Now this is a really fun step / experiment, as I've never used the Army Painter's Effect Fairy Dust, but that's what we're going to be using here. We're going to grab Army Painter's Feywild Emerald or Green Skin, which is funny because, you know, that's orc skin in Warhammer, and we're going to mix them together. Now I found, at first I did a 2-to-1, but I actually found a 2-to-3 gave more of a metallic look. And then you apply it just to the armor of the orc. And I think it turned out really well. It took me 2 coats to get it to where I liked it, but that's pretty typical. So yeah, kind of fun to be able to make metallics out of your favorite colors. These next colors that we're going to use are a couple last minute additions. We're going to grab our Driftwood Brown. We're going to use this to do the straps on the back of her boots, as well as the straps around the quiver. This is just another brown that I had laying around that I thought would look good on the model. Now we're going to grab Reaper's Woodstained Brown, and we're going to use this to do the fur on her boots. This was another thing that I did kind of late in the process that I thought would look good. And then we're also just going to cover the top of the base in this, and that'll be for our actual basing that we'll get to later on. All right, speed paint time. So we're going to start with our Grim Black, and we're going to do her hair. And now, as you may notice, I grab a second model. That is because I lost most of the footage of me painting the hair on our model. So I grabbed the one that I've also been painting along with this and kind of testing stuff out just to show more of the hair being painted. Next speed paint on the list, this is Hardened Leather. We're going to use this for her bow. This is going to give it that kind of nice lighter wood that will contrast from the dark wood we'll use to paint the log she's standing on. Now time for the dark wood, and that's just going to be for the log she's standing on. But all these shades of brown that we're adding really let that emerald armor and that gray skin kind of shine, and that's what I really wanted. Couple washes here to wrap things up. We're going to grab Army Painter's Soft Tone. We're going to go over all of our browns with this. Not the speed painted browns, but the other browns. That's just going to give a little bit of contrast. Do lightly over the bone white. Just going to settle into that recesses, kind of give some natural highlights. And it works out pretty well. And the last wash we're going to do is Citadel's Nona Oil. And originally I was just going to do the armor in this, but then I decided to be kind of lazy and let it do the highlighting and shadows for our skin as well. But I think it worked out perfect for tabletop readiness. Not going to win any awards with it, but it gives it a nice feel on the table. And we are back, but before we show off the finished product, if you haven't already, hit the thumbs up button. That lets me know you like the video. Leave a comment to let me know what you like about the video, and subscribe if you are not already, because that's how you see more of these miniature painting videos that come bi-monthly. So without further ado, the finished Half-Orc Ranger. So did a couple new things here. Mostly with the Feywild Emerald we used for the armor, and the fairy dust. I never actually, used this. I've had it, but it actually turned out quite nice. I like how the armor turned out. It's pretty cool that you can just, 2 or 3 drops of this in your paint, and you've got your own metallic. So that's very nice. Fortunately, I couldn't get all the gray out of there. In the log, as you guys can see, but that happens when you have a log that's hollow all the way through. I just didn't have a paintbrush. I tried. Sorry, my throat is getting really dry. I am getting over an illness, so my throat's been a little sore lately. But yeah, other than that, fantastic model. Again, this is an Epic Miniatures model. We've done it a few times. I do want to talk about my orc skin. We did use D&D's orc skin and mixed it with some earthreal blue, as you guys know. Orcs are not green in D&D. They are grayish. I believe most people have pretty much decided that they can go from gray to green. I try to incorporate that. I mean, my own D&D character Volstagg is green. Ta-da, green, lightish green, greenish gray. So I kind of incorporated that. I wanted to do the kind of more grayish color. There's a, I couldn't find it, but I know I've seen it. It's a half-orc and she's walking and kind of like a similar getup as this. So I tried to emulate that skin tone from the actual Forgotten Realms books. A couple things I did do off camera, and that's finish up the base. I was originally going to do it on camera, and then I realized I did not hit record, so my bad. But all we did here was took some Army Painter Brown Battleground and Army Painter Rocks. And then once that was dry and in place, I took some Army Painter Quick Shade Mid Brown over the majority of the rocks and the large rock, waited for that to dry, and then we added, what are these? We have a couple of the green woodland tufts, a thing of meadow flowers, and then a couple of the swamp tufts, just to give a little more variation to the green there. But I think it turned out pretty well as far as bases go. I really like it. The thing I do want to talk about is I painted this orc along with this one, and this, she was kind of my tester. She's got these cool claw things, but unfortunately they broke. So that's one of the reasons I didn't actually paint her on camera. But yeah, they are a pair, both epic miniatures. So I did use the mid brown on her capes. So that is why I am glad I did her as a test model, because I think the soft tone I used turned out 10 times better than the mid brown. The mid brown is a little too red. I also tested her with the Nuln oil before I did her, so that's why she's a little darker, because I did like it, but I didn't want as much. A couple things I thought about doing but did not do because I couldn't figure out exactly how. I wanted to add a couple highlights on the legs. I thought about just using the straight orc skin, and I think that would turn out just fine, but I think she looks pretty good for tabletop. I do need to get back into highlighting. That is one thing I have been kind of slacking on, so I promise I will start my highlights up again. But that's how you paint a Half-Orc Ranger. Again, leave comments down below if you guys have any questions regarding some techniques I used or any tips to help me improve. But that's going to be it for now, and I will catch y'all on the next one. Peace.